Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning, Joe.
I see you're in the study. What are you studying?
Well, I've been watching the truckers, the group that was in Canada, and our local group of truckers coming out of Frederick to circle the Beltway. And I'm in agreement with government overreach. I think that it's worth exploring, Joe. The Commonwealth of Virginia is a commonwealth for the common good to pass laws for all of us, but there are only 4 commonwealths. The others are states, and they have the same problem, is passing laws. And we use the word government overreach, but let's take away that and talk about what it really is. It's what is the responsibility of a government to protect my health and safety? And how do we determine when the government is creating laws and rules? Let me put it a different way. When the legal system makes criminals out of everyday, honest, hardworking people, there's something wrong with the law. And I think that may be a good way to start, is let's take a look at what the law does to the average GI Joe.
Well, I know every day I stop at stop signs. I don't go through red lights. When there's a pedestrian in a crosswalk, I'm more motivated by not hurting somebody, but I also have to bear in mind that I have to follow rules of the road. And as I'm teaching my daughter and her friend how to drive, I know it's important that there are all these restrictions. And when they ask me questions about why we do this or why we do that, I sometimes say, well, there's only one real reason you have to pay attention to the speed limit right now. It's because if you're going faster than that and you go by a policeman, he gets to give you a ticket. Even if you could drive faster, you shouldn't, because it's against the law. And that's, in a way, government overreach.
Tesla has solved the problem with their computer. They have put in the software that when a Tesla comes to a stop sign, it does a Texas stop. It rolls right through and doesn't bother coming to a full stop if there's no one in the other 3 corners. Now, one could argue, what's wrong with that? The only reason to stop is if there's someone else that I might hit or might hit me. Like, do I need a traffic light in the middle of the Sahara Desert so that my camel doesn't run over your camel? So you might argue that Tesla's spot on, but it won't roll through if there's a car at another stop sign at that same intersection.
Yeah, but that brings up another interesting point. Now, we're not just letting our following of the rules and the government allow us to control it, but now we're letting the Tesla decide what rules to follow and what to pay attention to. And technology is taking a bigger and bigger hand in everything we do. I didn't bother trying to figure out what time it was in my time zone. I just looked at my telephone and let it say, oh, that. And then I moved my wristwatch forward because I don't have a smart watch yet. But one day I won't know anything unless a computer has told me what to do. And that is a big argument that anti-vaxxers and other conspiracy theorists make, that the government, all they have to do is seize control of the internet, and then they will control the world because everybody will do what they're told by their computers.
I don't, this idea of control the internet, that's like nailing Jello to the wall. No one can control the internet. The internet is so open. Joe, you and I have a podcast, The Rabbi and I. You and I have a YouTube channel, The Rabbi and I. I am on TikTok. If we can do those things, then no one is controlling the internet. It's perfectly open to everybody and anybody. So I think we have to take that off the table, the idea that someone can control. It was much easier to control the news when there were newspapers, when you had the printing press, and there weren't alternate sources of the news. Then you could control things. Now it really is open season and up to us as listeners and viewers to make some hard decisions. What
But
am I
it's
watching?
also, yeah, I'm sorry, but that's, that also, that was when news was in the era of newspapers and radio, there was the people who reported the news were trusted or distrusted. There was a lot more confidence or skepticism. One of my grandmother's favorite expressions was, paper doesn't refuse ink, meaning that just because you saw it in the newspaper doesn't mean it was necessarily true. You had to think and use your head when analyzing news to see what it is that was real and what was just propaganda. And so, but we're doing that less and less. And I understand your point, but you and I could say that it turns out that if you bust open a fire hydrant between noon and 2 o'clock on the second Wednesday of a month, chocolate milk will come out instead of water. I'm almost certain that if we got enough of a following, somebody would go opening a fire hydrant.
Absolutely, which brings up something that's extremely important, and that's to look out the window. We seem to have forgotten to check reality against what I'm reading on the internet. If I see something, I'll test it. Look out the window and let's see if the external reality supports. And let's go to some other sources. Where is this coming from? And what is the agenda? I think the idea of controlling the internet has a grain of truth. It's not controlling the internet. It's what is the motivation of the person presenting the items? Is it financial gain? Is it power and control? And that's something that we, as the listener, as the viewer, it's our responsibility. God said it best. I put before you the blessing and the curse. Choose the blessing that you might live. God was talking about the internet. I put before you the blessing and the curse. And we're watching it unfold. People hurting other people hurting themselves because of things they saw and read. And yet we're also seeing all the blessings, the ability to see what's going on in foreign countries, to see the truth about how governments are behaving. And so it truly is a blessing and a curse. And it's our responsibility as human beings, as citizens of the Commonwealth, to choose our actions, not based on a fantasy of what we want, but on what's good for us, what's good for others, and what's healthy for society.
Well, I know what I choose, Rabbi. I choose to try and continue enlightening the world to your wisdom with these YouTubes and podcasts. So thank you very much.
And I would invite any of our listeners out there who would like to talk on the show about government laws and what we should have and what we should not have. We really would appreciate it. Thank you.